So let us say that you have a connection established between a client and a machine. Okay, so which higher level protocol is will be used is completely determined through the port which you are using in this connection. Okay, so TCP/IP generally reserves lower 1024 ports for a specific protocols. Okay, so here are some of the examples of these ports. The first is FTP. The port number 21 is allotted is for FTP. Okay, the port number 23 is for telnet, the port number 25 is for email, and the port 80 is for HTTP. So again there are various ports like 199 for net news, 43 for WHOIS, and so on. So depending on what type of connection you have established and what type of port you are using, the connection will be established based on particular protocol. Okay, so it is up to each protocol to determine how a client should interact with the port. For example, say if you are using web browsers, then you transfer hypertext pages and images on the web. Okay, so HTTP protocol will be used, and so on. Okay, now a key component of internet is the address. An internet address or the IP address is a number that uniquely identifies each computer on the internet. Okay, so there are basically two types of IP addresses. There are two versions of the IP addresses, you can say. The first is IP versus 4 and the second is IP versus 6. Okay, the IP versus 4 address consists of 32-bit values. Okay, you can see here 69.89.31.226. so each number is made up of 8 bits. Okay, similarly IP versus 6 is consisted of 128 bits and each bit consists of 16-bit chunks. Okay, or you can say each value consists of 16-bit chunks. So we are not going to consider a great difference between IP versus 4 and IP versus 6 in this course, because in case of Java you won't need to worry about that because Java handles the details for you. Okay, so you don't need to worry about all the kind of differences for IP versus 4 and IP versus 6. Java just handles that. Okay, next in this course we will see what is the INET address. The INET address class basically used to encapsulate the IP address and the nomen name for that address, or you can just say that INET address is the higher level representation of the IP address for the Java programming language. Okay, so INET address can handle both type of addresses like IP versus 4 and IP versus 6. Okay, now since INET addresses class has no visible constructor, okay, so if you want to create the INET address class object, you need to use some of the factory method of this INET address class. Then what is a factory method? Basically a factory method are just merely a convention. Okay, you have some static methods and you just call that static methods to get or to return the class instance. That's all. These are the factory methods. The INET address class basically defines three factory methods which we are going to use. Okay, the first is get localhost. Okay, the get localhost method returns the INET address object of the class. Okay, and this represents the local host. The second is get by name method. If you pass in the parameter the host name like www.google.com, it will return the INET address, which is the IP address of the host name www.google.com. Okay, and the third is get all by name. If you pass the host name here which has multiple IP address associated with this host name, and then you can get it through the array of INET addresses. So these are the three methods that we will see